Hey everyone, it's Mack from LaughingPlace.com. September 3rd marked the beginning of Halloween Horror Nights 30 at Universal Studios Florida. This year's event includes 10 haunted houses. Jeremiah, Tony, and I got to experience all 10 over the course of this opening weekend, and we wanted to share our thoughts on each of them with you. We'll start with one of the returning houses from last year, Revenge of the Tooth Fairy. The innocent traditions of the Tooth Fairy hide a darker ritual. It's an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
Tooth Fairy is fantastic. The only problem with it is one of the houses that was open last year, and we've already gone through it a whole bunch. So going through it again now, it's unchanged from last year. So it's the same thing. If you got to experience it last year, it's the same thing you experienced then. But it's still a lot of fun. The cast is very intense. It's definitely one of the scarier houses and still has some of the greatest sets of all of these houses as well. It's a really good house.
The second returning house is The Bride of Frankenstein Lives. We belong dead. The last words of Frankenstein's monster when his bride rejected him. Now she'll stop at nothing to bring him back.
Bride of Frankenstein Lives is great. The only problem with it is it's one of the houses that they ran last year. So if you got to experience it last year, it's the same experience this time around. Nothing is different. That being said, still a great house, really cool sets, a fun story that you can follow along with pretty easily, and some pretty good scares. It's not the scariest house. It's probably bottom half in terms of intensity, but it's a fun house.
Next is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Step into the dilapidated Texas home of the depraved, sadistic Sawyer family who welcome you with razor-sharp blades and a roaring chainsaw.
So I just walked out of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Really good. I'm not a huge Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan for the movie, but the houses have always been good, whether it's been here or in California. This one has a great effect where at one point Leatherface is running the chainsaw over the window grates, so you have sparks going, and there's a Leatherface around every corner. It's great, like definitely high on the scare zone.
Next is HHN Icons Captured. For the first time ever, 30 years of characters from your worst nightmares come together to decide who's the most evil of them all.
Just did Halloween Horror Nights Icons Captured. Of the ones I've done tonight, probably the best one. Very reminiscent of past houses where it's the Universal Monsters, but this time it's all the icons, signature icons of the Halloween Horror Nights event. Definitely has a lot of repeatability with an ending that supposedly changes depending on when you go in. It's amazing. Definitely 9 out of 10, but that could be a 10 out of 10 by the end of the run.
Our next house is Case Files Unearthed, Legendary Truth. Follow the trail of a private eye as an investigation into the supernatural leads you into a dark world of ghouls and terrifying creatures.
So I just got out of Legendary Truth house. For those of you who don't know, there's a great backstory behind the Legendary Truth and Horror Nights. This one definitely played on the stories that have come in the past with all the books and everything. It's one of those ones that if you don't know what's going on, it's got some great scares. If you do know what's going on, you need to spend more time in it. I will probably do that one at least every night I visit. The scares were great. They had different projections, all sorts of fun stuff.
Our next house is Beetlejuice. Got trouble with the living? You know what to say. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. It's showtime.
So Beetlejuice house, same as last year, really fun. It's always fun after you watch the movie to go through because they hit so many beats from the movie. It's fun. There's a couple of jump scares in there. There's a couple of large props that if you don't catch it, you'll miss it and you'll walk through a black room and you're like, what was going on? Definitely a fun house. I only waited like 20 minutes for it, so it was perfect.
Next is The Haunting of Hill House. Welcome to Hill House, a structure more alive than its ghostly inhabitants. Inside these walls echo the haunted footsteps of those trapped here for all time.
Wow, wow, wow. That has to be the most intense house this year. I know there's a lot of great ones, but that's gonna be tough to beat. Fans of the show are gonna love this house. It puts you right in the middle of so many memorable scenes and just, wow. I mean, the scares are intense and they keep coming one after the other. This is a great house. I can't wait to try some of the other ones, but this is gonna be tough to beat.
Next is Puppet Theater Captive Audience. A puppeteer and a ballet troupe trapped in a deserted theater for years are about to turn you into a human puppet. That's your cue to scream.
So we just did Puppet Theater, Captive Audience. Decent, very pretty. The scares were good. Almost too distracting with how much of the set was reused from someplace else, but still good. Could have used a lot more ventriloquist dummies though. Where's my dead silence one? That's all. But Puppet Theater, 7 of 10.
Our next house is the Wicked Growth Realm of the Pumpkin. There's no breaking free from the vines of the Pumpkin Lord, here to entrap you in his ever-growing evil.
Man, this is another really, really good house. The sheer number of scares will blow you away. They did some effects that I've never seen before. And the way that they transform that tent into, I mean, you completely forget that you're in a haunted house. You are really transported into this crazy, overgrown world. And like I said, lots and lots of scares. They're coming at you from all angles. Really good house.
Finally, we have Welcome to Scary, Horror in the Heartland. In Cary, bad things just happen. No one escapes from this small town beset by an endless parade of bloodthirsty creatures and maniacs.
Welcome to Scary, Horror in the Heartland. So far, what I've done, the best one. Better for all the Horror Nights diehards out there. Every room is an homage or a reference or maybe even a glorified clip show of something we've already seen. From that aspect, you know, it's something we've already seen, but every one of them is from Cary, Ohio, the lore in the back, hometown of horror, I guess you could say. All the original ideas, a lot of them take place in Cary, Ohio, including the best, H.R. Blood and Guts, and his appearance in there alone, for me, makes it a 9 out of 10.
Halloween Horror Nights 30 at Universal Studios Florida runs on select nights through October 31st. Be sure to head to laughingplace.com for more information on this year's event.